Hello, LegendAqua here for my anime tier list of summer 2021, and I didn't watch that much. However, I have some not controversial, just semi-controversial picks. So let's start off with Tenshura's second season part 2, and this pretty much is the culmination of everything that happened from the first season to the second season part 1, as well as like payback, as well as all the little hints that it's giving us towards what's going to happen next as well. Like the development of Rimuru, as well as Rimuru's like entire town and its citizens, it's so good for what it just gave us. Not to mention like Rimuru as a character, the entire lore with demon lords and everything. Like it just culminated towards all of that and gave us some really good payoff. So easily because of that, yeah, Tenshura's second season part 2, easy A rank for that one, absolutely. Speaking of second seasons, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid second season also showed up this season, and it's still great as ever. Mainly because even though we got a new character in the form of Ilulu, we did get like a lot of the thematic development towards the entire cast, to be honest. As well as, again, we also got a lot of development from the dragon lore that this season gave us, especially towards Toru, as well as like Toru's beef with Elna. It did a lot of that right, and along with the core theme of family that it gave us, the first season also gave us that through, like, obviously the fact that Toru and Kobayashi, like, the entire family dynamic with them, with Kana and everybody else, it gave us that thematic concept of family, just be it biological or not. And this second season also paid off with that, with the character development and backstory of a lot of the characters, as well as just some hijinks as well. Easily, yeah. Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid Season 2, worth the A, definitely. And if you're fans of the first season, obviously you'll love the second season. So, from that, Kanojo. Oh, this anime is a roller coaster. This anime wasn't exactly on my docket to watch this season. However, because of one person in my Discord, OTT, showed me a trailer for this anime. I watched the trailer, and I watched the first episode. I was hooked straight away afterwards. It's just because of the main concept of the fact that the main protagonist is dating Saki, the main girlfriend, as well as Nagisa. So essentially he's two-timing both of them, but he wants to keep both of them, and hijinks ensue with that. And yeah, you can say that the main protagonist is kind of a douche and an idiot, but he's also a Chad at the same time, because he's actually keeping this up through long bouts of shouting and it's not even common sense. It's just he wants the two-timing to work, and he shouts it to make it work. And it's how it works. Not to mention, it's the entire thing of, obviously, another character comes into the mix in the form of Rika, as well as Saki's best friend, who also harbors feelings for the main protagonist, and that just causes the entire love hijinks to just tumble and just cause it to become a bigger ball of chaos as to what's happening. Rika, to say the least, drives the chaos meter completely out of whack and just makes this entire anime series just so worth it to watch because the chaos just builds and it's just crazy enough for you to actually like it. The main protagonist notwithstanding, it just depends, but for the entire harem, it just snowballs into some like mad chaos, love hijinks. It's crazy and I just loved it. For the favorite characters for Kanojo no Kanojo, I'll say it's either Saki or Rika. Nagisa is pretty close though. Kiryu, who is Saki's best friend, didn't have much screen time, but for what she had, it was still decent, but I prefer either Saki or Rika, because Rika probably had the most impact and Saki had probably the best comedic impact. Like, in my opinion, in great thanks to the voice actors, it just made this anime pop and I just loved it. Okay. Oh boy. Okay. In comes my controversial pick, and it's Bogita No Remake. Okay, so here's the thing. I was thinking that Bogita No Remake was a two-cour. I thought this was going to have 24 episodes. However, it cut at 12 episodes, with it ending in a cliffhanger of all things. Which is why I thought there was going to be more episodes after the season. It didn't. Okay. From all that, I can also say that a lot of people didn't like the main protagonist, but I will also rebut that by saying that, yes, he tried to be perfect, he was kind of perfect, but he made a lot of mistakes, and he kind of paid for it. What happened afterwards is spoiler territory, but I will at the very least say my best girl of this anime was Aiko, and I stuck by her from season 1, mainly because she's voiced by Natayama, but as I carried on watching and everything, she was still best girl in my opinion. A lot of people liked Shino Aki. I was in Aiko's faction, and the last episode for me did kind of pay it off for her at the very least. What I was also hoping, considering how this anime is formatted, I was hoping that there was going to be more routes in this anime. We did get to, at the very least, Shino's route, and it felt like we were going to the other twos, which is Nanako and Aiko's route. But because this anime just ended in a cliffhanger with no two-cour, I was expecting more routes. And if it went to Aiko's route, it would have been so good. This anime needs a second season. Also, this entire anime does look at the entire like the creation process of like doujins, games, and just art in general. I really like that. That was one of the main draws as to why I started watching. The other one was, of course, Natayama. Alright, next up is Otome Game second season, and it's getting a B. Hear me out. Even though Tenshura's second season part 2, as well as Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid season 2, gave us a lot of great development in their respective series, Otome Game second season was more or less the same. We did get some, obviously, development from some of the harem members for Katarina, but Katarina is a little bit static in this sense, not to mention all of her death flags leads to nothing. It's more or less, the second season was more or less about the harem members more than Katarina, and because Katarina is a little bit static, especially in this season, not much moved besides the harem members, like their devotion towards Katarina. I kind of wish that there was more death flags for Katarina to make it work, but considering everything that's going on right now, it feels like the entire concept of the death flags is just waning to the point that it's more focused on the harem members than Katarina, even though Katarina is one of the main draws. It's kind of why I give it at least a B. It's still decent at the very least, but I don't know. Compared to like Tensura second season and Miss Kobayashi's second season, I don't know. Something felt a little bit off, but it was still decent at the very least. That's the best way I can say it. I still liked it though. I still liked it. Next up, speaking of now Toyama, we have Peach Boy Riverside. Okay, so this anime is very violent, very gory. A lot of people die. This is more or less a more violent version of the Momotaro folktale story, and let's just say I came into this anime series because, again, of Nao Toyama, but Nao Toyama is actually voicing a boy character in the form of Mikoto. However, I stayed for Sally, one of the main protagonists. I very much liked the entire demon lore for Peach Boy Riverside, as well as its like more twisted version of Momotaro. And it was still decent at the very least. It is slightly schlocky in the sense, but with all the other points of like the character development, the entire twisted Momotaro folktale, as well as its characters, the demon lore, it made up for it. It definitely made up for the slogginess. So I'm giving that at least a C. Next up is our only two-ker for my selections of animes that I watched this season, and that would be Aquatope. So, this anime is essentially about one of our main protagonists in the form of Kukuru, who wants to keep her childhood aquarium afloat. She's acting director, and an idol in the form of Fuka, who is actually turned to a former idol because her idol career wasn't going in the direction she wanted. She met up with Fuka in her childhood aquarium, and she decided to help Kukuru's dream to keep the aquarium. This is done by PA Works. The animation is very good. It is slice of life with a bit of drama involved. We will see how this goes because this is again the only two-ker anime, but for what it's worth for a slice of life PA Works anime, it's still gonna be good. I'm gonna give it that. I do like its characters, especially with the motivations for achieving the dream, and like what it entails to keep it, more or less. But where the new arc is going at the moment, we're more or less looking at Kukuru for her trials and tribulations more than Fuka, but we'll see where the second curve goes, more or less. Next up is Mahuka, the spin-off that's focused on Miyuki. And this one gets a C. More or less, this is just a retelling of Mahuka's first half. It goes all the way up to the tournament arc for the spin-off, but it goes up to that point, but it looks at Miyuki's view. And the animation is a bit of a downgrade from Madhouse, but it gets a C. It was still decent, but if you watched Mahuka's first season, essentially it's just a retelling with a downgrade on the animation. The only good point I'll say is at the very least on that tournament arc part, where the tournament arc gets a little bit more fleshed out. Besides that, if you watch Mahuka's first season, the spin-off is pretty much the same thing, just in a different perspective. If you like Miyuki, this is more or less the spin-off that you want to watch. Next up is Eden Zero. Okay, so this is obviously the continuation from the previous season, and oh my god. So, Hiro Mashima has outdone himself with Eden Zero. Essentially, what Eden Zero is, because I've obviously finished it, it's righting his wrongs for what his writing style was like from Fairy Tail. Like, a lot of the stuff that happens affects the characters and affects them in the long run. There's a lot of mystery that went on with this. A lot of them was paid off, as well as the character development in this, throughout this anime is so good, and like the consequences and the power-ups that happen, it does have huge consequences, and it feels like Hiro Mashima learned from Fairy Tail, and I just loved it. Best thing is, we did get in last episode teaser. It's possible. Well, it's not possible. It teased us. It's either a second season or a movie that's going to come out. I'm expecting a second season with what the teaser gave out to us, and it's going to be very good as to what's going to happen, because as the final episode teaser just said, as well as our narrator saying, the adventure's just beginning. So I'm very much interested in Eden Zero, as well as where it's going to go. Eden Zero, easy yes, it is so good. It seriously is so good. Essentially it's Hiro Mashima learning from his mistakes. Sure, there are heaps of cameos of Fairy Tail, but that's just what they are, just cameos. This is just a new story with Fairy Tail's animation, but in my opinion, a little bit better in that sense. And Eden Zero, you need to, like, if you love Fairy Tail, you are going to love Eden Zero. Just, it is so good, and I can't wait for the second season. Next up is Boku no Hero Academia's 5th season. I am giving this... Okay, this one's kind of tough. I'm giving it a B. Because it has a bit of a balance problem as to what's going on, because for this season, this is also a continuation from the previous season actually, and it just ended this season. Essentially, Boku no Hero Academia Boku no Hero Academia's 5th season, it went in a lot of directions. Some good, some bad. The first half was essentially Class A versus Class B, and that took pretty much 12 episodes, so entire curve. And the only thing we gleaned from that was the entire teamwork dynamic, as well as Deku's new power that we've seen. But then, moving on from that, we got a lot of the hero agency arc that just build up, that just took so long to get to. We did get some good development from Endeavor, as well as Shoto, but it just meandered a little bit around that part. It wasn't until the villains arc finally something great happened, mainly with the main villain of I'm forgetting his name, but with the main leader of the League of Villains. His backstory was probably the best part of this season. But again, with what the previous episodes, the early episodes gave us, that just meandered, especially with the Class A versus Class B, as well as meandering a little bit. It had a little bit of build up during the hero agency arc. Was it worth it? Kinda. For me, just kinda. I just wish they didn't meander, but I can kind of guess why, them trying to like churn out a season like this and trying to keep up, maybe not even trying to keep up, just like trying to adapt as much as they can. It felt like that's what they were trying to do. At the very least, the villains arc was actually very good. It pretty much developed the main League of Villains, besides one or two, but the main core of the League of Villains, I guess. But I'm giving it a B. I'm being very lenient here. I could have given it a C, but the villains arc was probably the best part of this season, but that's the best I can say. And finally, to round up the season and the final anime that is actually a two-ker is Higurashi and Higurashi Sotsu. Oh. Okay, so I talked about... Oh wait, sorry, this is not a two-ker. This is continuation from Sotsu as a part 2. Sorry, not Sotsu. Go. I'm mixing seasons around. Sotsu was pretty much giving us all the development towards the main instigators of Higurashi. And I said in the previous anime tier list that it opens up the Higurashi multiverse in a sense, as well as the fact that it may bring up, Umi Iniko to the forefront. And this, like, Sotsu for Higurashi gave us at the very least the resolution, the payoff towards everything that happened. And just for a payoff and just like giving us the resolution for almost a decade, because I watched Higurashi's I watched the OG Higurashi years back, and I didn't know what the heck was going on. With Sotsu, it gave us the resolution that we wanted for years, as well as like giving us a mindset as to what all this chaos that it brought up with all the seasons, all the OVAs that it gave us. It finally gave us a good payoff and gave us this huge character development. I loved it. I definitely loved it. And obviously, with Higurashi Sotsu, it's giving way to possibly Umineko remake, and I really want to see that. So, for summer 2021, you can obviously see I didn't watch that many bad animes, if at all. In my opinion, those S ranks are well deserved. Seriously, Kanojo was probably my favorite romance anime. Eden Zero and Higurashi gave us a lot of good stuff. Oh my god. Sequels kind of rolled a little bit here, especially with Tensura and Dragon's Maid. I was obviously a little bit bummed out with Bogita No Remake. I wish they could get a second season. Aquatope's still going. We'll see how it goes. Boku no Hero Academia is probably the most middling one I've watched this season. And Boy Riverside is just good old... It's good schlock. And I went in with Nao Taoyama. And I was still decently... I liked it. I still liked it. It's still like a C. And Mahuka is also decent enough. So essentially, for what I watched for summer 2021 was just decent to amazing. I will try to watch more animes next season, but considering what my anime list looks like for my plan to watch, it might be similar. But we will see. For now, I will leave it off with comment below, obviously, what your favorite animes were, as well as what you think about my anime tier list for summer 2021, and that will do it for me. With that, LA out.